Live from iRacing's virtual Watkins Glen International, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 7 of the premier sim racing Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series. This is the Miracle Flow 147. Well, as always, we're happy that you're hanging out with us on a Wednesday night here on Green Flag TV, and we are excited for our second road course race of the season. With our producer, Dustin, Ollis downstairs, Derrick, Watson, and myself, Evan Posocco, in the booth for the call. And Richard Regan Jr.'s dominant season continued, Derrick, a week ago in Kentucky, 4th win of the season. And he was your winner at the only other road course we've seen so far this year, back at the Lime Rock Park GP earlier in the year. So he will look to repeat what was a dominant performance back then.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens here tonight. Of course, it looks like tonight is the right time to go road course racing. We're going to wrap it up with Richmond, Milwaukee Mile, and Darlington. So still four different styles of races. A road course, you got the 3/4 mile, you got Milwaukee Mile, and then Darlington, one of, I think, the toughest tracks on the service as an oval, and a couple of cool things planned for the season, Evan. So wait and see how this plays out. But let's take a look at the points here. Richard Regan, of course, wins last week, opens up that lead over Steve Baker, now almost 30 points, and then Bradley Holly's back in 3rd. James O'Brien, who we saw last week, highlighted in the race, is back in 4th, with Barney in 5th. And then Gagnon, Sharp, Lowendick, Evans, and Thomas Sink round out your top 10.
So a lot of good battles there that are down to, call it, single digits here or there. Plenty of competitive battles, including the race for the second spot. Only 10 points between Baker and Holly. You've got just over that mark with O'Brien and Garney. And then how about the Gagnon, Sharp, Lowendick, and I'll even toss Jeff Evans and Thomas Sink into that one. Make it 5 drivers separated by about 17 points or so. So there is still a lot to fight for, despite the fact that headed into tonight, we enter the final 4 races of the season. And it is not just the driver championship that we're following. The team championship roars on as well, where the Regan Boga Motorsports Group starting to pull away from Whataback Racing.
Yep, that's definitely happening here by a bigger gap each week. RBM Blinks back in 3rd, and Sulpec and Rapid Theft. And then Tabit Rossi Esports back in P6, the purple, red, green. That's what the initials mean there by their team names, by the way, the colors of those trucks. Miracle Flow, Grinds, and Regan Bogue, and then BOY, Tabit Ross versus BOY. So this one's more wide open, Evan. It's hard to think anyone's really going to make a move. And if you're going to do it, you have to start tonight on making that move on Regan Bogue. And I mean, a road course could be the time. We often talk about how road courses provide that different, set of top 10 or top 5 sometimes from drivers we don't always hear from. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, they got to start moving fast if they want to win a team title.
Yeah, and without a notable wild card like a plate track or anything looming in the distance, you're right. This may be the last opportunity if you feel like a track like this works in your favor to make a bit of a swing. Because otherwise, Richmond, Milwaukee, Darlington, they've got unique challenges of their own, but they are not likely a place where we're going to see a huge shakeup of good race trucks not having good results. Qualifying is underway now. We'll get to that in a minute. First, as always, want to say thanks to some of the people who make our coverage possible. It starts at the top with our friends at the Sim Gaming Expo. Get ready for the ultimate simulation gaming experience. Sim Gaming Expo is bringing all genres of simulation and gaming tech under one roof, September 5th through 7th at the Schaumburg Convention Center in Chicagoland. Test the latest gear, meet your favorite streamers, and connect with a community that lives and breathes simulation. Don't miss your chance to be a part of it. Grab your tickets now, simgamingexpo.com, or scan the QR code.
And we also want to thank Miracle Flow for sponsoring a Miracle Flow 147. And remember, Evan, Miracle Flow is more than just hair care. It is built for the bold. Founded in Rochester, New York, back in 2015 in New York, Miracle Flow was created to elevate both your look and your lifestyle. They're made in the USA and crafted for real performance. It's trusted by those who want to show up ready, whether it's a game time out with the boys or it's a night out in the town. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just results. Miracle Flow, because your flow isn't just style, it's a statement.
As well as our friends at Palm Rat Golf. Palm Rat Golf blends classic style with a modern fit designed to move you from the office to the course to wherever the day takes you. Timeless looks, everyday comfort, all in one. Palm Rat Golf, made to move, styled to stand out.
And then we want to think Outlap Motorsports. At Outlap Motorsports, it's not just about horsepower and lap times. It's about the people behind the wheel. They're in the paddock. They're in the pits. Heck, they're even wrenching on the cars late at night just like you. Whether you're chasing tints on the stopwatch or just trying to clear your head on a Sunday drive, Outlap has got your back with honest support, real tuning, and a true love for the motorsport scene. But here's the real talk. Motorsport isn't just a hobby. Heck, for a lot of us, it's therapy. That's why Outlap provides support for men's mental health and encourages drivers to check in on each other, both on and off the track. Fast cars, real talk, Outlap Motorsports.
And for Window Nation. Window Nation is recognized by Forbes as the top vinyl window replacement company in the country. Their energy-efficient windows are designed to keep homes cool during the summer and warm through the winter, all proudly made in the heart of the USA. With expert installation and industry-leading quality, Window Nation is the smart choice for any window replacement project. We say thanks to them and all the rest of our sponsors that we'll talk about over the course of the night for bringing this coverage to you. As there's about 30 seconds left in the qualifying session before we get things underway. I believe everybody has a time complete in qualifying. You take a live look in at the 6 of Evan Williams out there on a third bonus lap. Only 2 timed laps to count against the clock, so trying to get a little bit of last-second practice in as he gets loose through the outer loop.
Yeah, that's going to be one of our problem spots tonight, through that outer loop and where it may happen here. So lots of trouble spots here on the track. Comes around and complete the lap just in time, and I believe it is now time to take a look at tonight's starting grid.
Here we go down trackside and take a look at your starting grid presented by Profit Python. And on pole position, it is Bradley Hawley in the Whataback Racing 184 truck with the time of 1 minute 12:992. He'll be joined on the front row by the 4-time race winner, the 56 of Richard Regan Jr. Back on number 2, 3 starter tonight goes to the 38 of James O'Brien, and your P4 starter, the number 4 of Reese Bogue. On row number 3, 5th on the grid tonight belongs to the number 2 is Steve Baker. He's next to the 26 of Robert Barney in P6. Back on row 4, Mark Kalin in the 62 rolls from 7th. He's alongside Jeff Evans, who will start from the 8th position. And back on row number 5, Andrew Sharp rolls from P9, and Matt Scherf rounds out your top 10.
Going to move back into P11 here in row 6. That's Thomas Sink in the Grinds machine. Next to the 14 of Matt Gagnon back in P12. Back in P13, Dustin Baumgartner is in the 16 truck. He's next to the 60 of Colton Lane. Back in P15, you'll find that bright yellow machine of Nicholas Schwartz, one of the Miracle Full trucks. He's next to Jacob Dunn back in P16. P17 is Nicholas Acosta in 17th, and he's next to Doug Evans, that bright green machine in P18. And then at P19, James Morgan is next to Steve Loving to round out your top 20.
That brings us back to row number 11, where Brandon Walter will start tonight in the number 21 spot next to Stacy Hunter in 22nd. Brett Adams in the 23 truck finds in the number 23 spot on the grid, just ahead of Evan Williams in the 6, who starts in 24th. Mike Toomer Jr. in the 42 will start 25th tonight next to Zachary Burnt in the 28, who rolls from P26. The final truck to take a time into qualifying goes to Brian Tope. He'll start 27th, with the rest of the field lined up based on provisionals. It'll put Ted Lowendick in 28th, Kyle Dewey 29th, and Doyle Lawrence in 30th.
Going to move back through the field here. This will be 31st will be Trace Paderni in the 79 truck. He's next to Blaine Adams in the 32 for 31st and 32nd. 33rd is Doug Rice, and he is next to Nick Hunter back in P34. And this is everybody. That is a look at the grid. Not allowed to qualify tonight, by the way, quickly. Evan, Doyle Lawrence, Nicholas Hunter, Ted Lowendick, Evan Williams, Trace Paderni all had end-of-line penalties, so that's why they're in the back of the field.
Yeah, so a couple of those drivers, Williams included, halftime into qualifying. They'll be sent to the rear. That is going to shuffle up some things, call it outside of the top 20 or so. We talk about this Watkins Glen International Circuit. We'll get to that point in just a moment. First, I want to say thanks to our sponsor for the starting grid, Profit Python. Every second counts on the track and in making money. Like a perfect pit stop, the right deal at the right time means big profits. Introducing Profit Python, the ultimate Discord for deal hunters and side hustlers. Get blazing fast alerts on price drops, secret sales, and hidden jackpots before anyone else. The race to profit is on. Don't get left in the dust. Join now at wap.com/Profit Python. Profit Python, strike fast, profit faster. So as always, 75 minutes go on the clock. We are used to that format here in the Premier Sim Racing Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series. But this Watkins Glen layout not using the boot, so the classic NASCAR circuit, clock it in at 2.45 miles in length. And for all of the road course insurgents that we've seen in the NASCAR ranks here on the service as well over the last couple of years, Derrick, Watkins Glen has held strong as a truly iconic circuit for NASCAR road course racing.
Yeah, it really has. One of the, I call the traditional road courses in the NASCAR schedule before the big road course expansion a couple years ago. For many years, it was Watkins Glen and Sonoma. Those are the tracks that most NASCAR fans were familiar with, and the one we're going to race tonight is the Glen. So exciting, about a minute 13, minute 14 lap times of what we're going to do here. So we're probably going to do in the realm, what do you think, probably 65, 70 laps tonight here at this track. Many laps for a road course.
Yeah, iRacing says 64, the estimate. We'll see how this one plays out. It is the final road course race of the year and the fourth to last one overall on the season. As always, happy that you're spending your Wednesday night with us. Field in the hands of Bradley Holly. Let's go road racing at the Glen. Well, it's a quick 2.45 miles as pole sitter Bradley Holly leads at the end of lap number 1. A couple of trucks were in no man's land up through the S's. One truck dives to pit road. That's Blaine Adams for a black flag penalty early. Aside from those, pretty clean start, all things considered. No changes inside of your top 5.
Yeah, I think everyone can breathe easy now, right? Because in the Premier Sim Racing Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series, we have a rule about we only put a caution on a road course for a full track blockage. So that first lap's a little tense, right down well back in your ticker on the bottom of it. Here's Ted Lowendick. Ted, a driver I think Evan has the likelihood to probably gain the most spots tonight due to his starting spot. Teddy started as a road course racer in different leagues and really kind of came over to the oval side with some poking and prodding from his friends over at Whataback Racing. But Teddy is a road course specialist. I think Ted, I don't know if he's going to win from 28th. That's a heck of a goal to win from 28th at this course. But I bet he picks up a lot of spots as the night goes on.
And he had a good qualifying effort last time we went road racing at the Lime Rock Park event. As you take a look on board with him, looking to the inside of the 12 Morgan in battle for 18th, as at 12 kind of ended up in no man's land. Just wide on the entry to the S's, had to get out of the gas. It'll give the spot to Lowendick. So he is already charging through the field up 10 spots, but He would go on to finish top 10 in that Lime Rock Park race. I say that's probably within striking distance. He's going to need to keep this pace up, but so far so good off the jump. That's, of course, because he did not have the chance to qualify.
Yeah, I got nervous there. Passing to the S's at the Glen is kind of a big no-no for a lot of drivers. It's really tight. It's scary. It's nerve-wracking, but he did it pretty well, and he's going to now pass over Nicholas Acosta here and make that pass coming into the penultimate corner here. But yeah, good run so far for Lowendick. He's got Acosta behind him, Dunn in front of him, and he's really carving his way through the field here.
Yeah, so far, so good. He is by far the biggest mover. All the other drivers that are up more than just a single spot running outside of the top 25. So good pace on that machine at the moment. We'll continue to follow Ted in the number 13 as the night carries on. You can see amongst the leaders, single filed out, no changes in the top 5. That still rings true. It's Holly, Regan, Bryan, Bogue, and Baker. Your top 5 drivers is Richard Regan looking for another race win on the year. We've got the pedal cam on that Toyota tonight.
Yeah, and as a driver, you should want to come back and watch this broadcast. There's a lot you can learn from a pedal cam. We like it. It's just kind of different and almost, dare I use the word, gimmicky at times. But you can learn a lot from a pedal cam here and how a driver behaves on the pedals. And you see here just the 2 pedals and just up on the gas and when he uses the brake. So a beautiful shot by Richard. He told me tonight he was going to offer this to us, and super grateful. I guess now you can also say Richard's part of Team Racing Shoes and that never-ending debate of how do you race.
You can see him working the throttle and the brake pedals. Of course, it immediately brings me back to the time when, I don't know if it was NASCAR on NBC or if it was somebody else, but they had the pedal cam with Shane Van Gisbergen in the Cup Series. And then he asked them to stop giving that look to his competitors, which is funny, right? Because in the Cup Series, drivers have access to pretty much unlimited data off of the other competitors. As it's more spots picked up for Lowendick, make it plus 13 now, as he's already into a top 15 spot. And even with all of that raw data available, still did not want his competitors to be able to see the foot cam. A lot of finesse that'll go into that, and again, a lot of lessons that can be learned for some drivers, not in a derogatory way, but that are lesser road course racers, right? Not everybody can be a top-level talent on the ovals and the road courses. And Richard Regan is somebody who has that ability, and could be a great chance for somebody else to pick up and learn some things. One thing about Watkins Glen, you see it there, is they race off of what is the outer loop and avoid the typical trip down to the boot side by side into the corner. Baker down on the inside of Bogue, is they're using all of the paved runoffs here at Watkins Glen. Those weren't there 20, 30 years ago, but seems like anywhere where you step over a curb here, you've got a runoff. That is stark contrast to what we saw at Lime Rock.
And as a driver, it's kind of confusing within the iRacing service, Evan, because some of these count as off tracks, and Baker really sent it in there, and of course wasn't able to hold on to that, so Bogle passing right on by. But some of these are considered off tracks, some of them aren't. So it's at times as a driver, it's really way more to process than you think, because you have to remember, where can I abuse this off track? Where can I, push hard, and, where can I not? Because in this league, we don't talk about it a lot on the side, but there is an incident point limit here. It is 24 incident points for a DQ, but only 14 to get yourself a drive-through. So 14 times touching that pavement across probably 65 laps is not that difficult to achieve if you're not careful.
And there's the onboard perspective as they race out of the outer loop for Mark Kalin in the number 6 position right now. Picked up a spot early in this race. Now trying to march forward. The next driver up the road would be that number 2 is Steve Baker, who took the spot away from Bogue, then lost it after he overdrove the entry down into turn number 1. So you can see how different drivers will take different parts of this racetrack, tighter, wider, where you want to carry the speed. And this deceptive turn number 1 with the downhill slope to the second half of this front straightaway almost begs you to overdrive it. And in front of him, Baker almost into the back of the 4 of Bogue there.
Yeah, and this is a great camera shot, by the way, because right here in our camera with the webcam and this truck right here, Mark Kalin, and then the truck in front of him, Steve Baker, previously both 6 hours of the Glen winners. Now, of course, those are very different vehicles, Evan, than what we're driving tonight. The NASCAR trucks out there, you can drive the prototypes or the GT, something built a little bit better for a road course than a NASCAR truck, but sometimes still experience is experience. And here's Richard Regan. He's trying to run down Bradley Holly. He's got a teammate in James O'Brien behind him. And I have a suspicion in my mind somewhere, Evan, that Rich is just riding. There was a lot of talk tonight in the pre-race about riding and saving fuel and making his first run count. Who's not making his count or riding at least is Reese Bogue. He won't stop about digging in there and then coming back out here through turn 7. Nope, we're going to stay right there. But there was a lot of talk in the pre-race, Evan, about if you could make this first run last 29, maybe 30 laps, you could probably make this a one-stop race. And so I think Rich is just kind of hanging out and seeing what he can do to make that happen.
Yeah, and again, we think, and it's not really my take, as more side-by-side goes down into turn number 1 this time. It's Lowendick getting by Dustin Baumgartner. Move him to 13th spot. The charge through the field continues for Ted Lowendick. An impressive 15 spots gained. The fact that my data tells me 64 laps is the estimated race distance. You're going to get a number of 32. That's definitely to the higher end of that window the drivers were talking about.
Yeah, I think that 64 might drop when pit stops happen to maybe to 63. I'm not sure, but yeah, you're right. I mean, you really got to push here. The one thing that's going to make that difficult for these drivers, I know in the beginning of the race we looked at time and weather, and it's a hot track tonight, Evan. It's hotter than it has been in practice all week for a lot of drivers. I know it's way hotter than the C-Fixed official races. I know for both Wadaback and for Tapia to Rossi Esports, it's hotter than they practiced earlier in the week. So I bet that makes the fuel save harder because while the track may be slower, it's going to help eat through these tires. And so what I almost wonder for some drivers is even if your heart is in it, and even if you want to, make the fuel last for 30 laps, I just wonder if the tires can last for 30 laps.
Well, at the front end of this 4-truck battle, it was a bad exit off of the final corner for Colton Lane, and he is going to pay the price for it. James Morgan to the inside. Not going to be a freebie, though. Lane fights back. Look out. Steve Loving bonsais the corner, spins, catches it in that Ryobi Toyota, continues on. I think that's about a best-case scenario. The way that 27 went in there with the tires locked up, I thought he was going to clean both of them out.
Yep, I think maybe just got to the back end of James Morgan, got in there a little deeper than he thought. And for the most part, a pretty great save. I mean, that could have been way worse, not just for him, but for anyone behind him. So awesome save there for Loving. Now we're in the battle of Colton Lane and Brandon Walter in the 99. So this is a good battle going on right here. And see what Lane can remember. As you said, Lane gave up a couple spots there on the front straight and down into turn 1. Let's see if he can hold on to this here.
And all of this only in the opening 9 laps of this race. Plenty of action going on as this field is going to slowly but steadily start to spread itself out. Colton Lane trying to get back to the 12. I feel like James Morgan probably the faster of these two trucks. Morgan had held position in 19th from the jump, but Colton Lane had fallen back to him. That was the make it 5th spot lost for Lane, so struggling to maybe just a touch on the race pace. And the key for the 60 is obviously going to be trying to limit those mistakes. He got pounced on by the 12 because he just missed the final corner, kind of got up into the wide stuff, and then if you're sticking the tail end of the truck out or spinning the tires, that's just going to continue to make the tires wear more and continue to make things more difficult for you on the long run. So Brandon Walter going to try to tee him off and see what he can do here. Kind of haphazard look to the inside. That would have been a hell of a dive into the bus stop there. He doesn't make the move this time, but pulls in line, and the battle for 19th will continue on.
Yeah, great battle happening here on the track and up and down the track. One of the beautiful things about road course racing is there's always a battle somewhere, right? It may not be for first place or for second place, but you look at the gaps and intervals up and down the track, you'll always find something happening somewhere. There's usually never really a moment alone at this road course. So watching here through the final corners is turns 6 and 7. Of course, one of the big debates, Evan, I think, depending on whose track map you use and who you believe, how many corners there are at Watkins Glen. You see Walter's going to try and make the pass here real quick and does do it pretty successfully over Colton Lane. But, some people count the bus stop as corners, some people don't. It's really kind of wild. I know the official, I think iRacing scoring says 7 corners. I've seen maps with 8 corners. it's pretty wild how differently people think these how many corners there are at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, I've tried to just give up on trying to go corner numbers because iRacing claims that it's 8 corners. Other counts for this layout I've seen give it 7. And then some people believe that if you don't run the full circuit, you should still number the corners accordingly, which would make this turn here turn number 10, which is its own naming convention entirely. So I'll go with corner names, right? We've got the S's, the back straight, the inner loop, the outer loop, and that's pretty much it. That's what we're looking
90.
for is, yeah, so Reese Bogue trying to get around on the inside, but Mark Kalin, in the end, going to slice off and complete the pass for the number 5 spot. Not so far, though. Reese Bogue punches back to the inside, overdives the corner, and that's about as pretty as you could have set that one up for Mark Kalin. He saw Reese Bogue coming back after him and opted to kind of back it off and cross him over. There's the mistake out of the S's from the 4 of Bogue that made this possible. So this battle may not be done yet. They've had a couple of really big moments between the two of them.
Yeah, they're battling hard, and I'm telling you right now, if you're at least that one move by Mark Kalin coming to the bus stop a lap ago, that was wild. That's more brave than I would be getting into the bus stop too wide like that. That's a good move, and it worked. So, kudos to Mark. But this is the kind of moves that you have to make to be successful, but sometimes they don't always turn out that way. Well, Evan, this week we're at Watkins Glen. Last week while you were out, we had an incredible race at the Kentucky Speedway. So it's been a couple of great weeks here. A lot of green flag runs last week. Of course, we were expecting a green flag run. We've never had a road course in league history have that full track blockage. And so I'll be honest, as it looks right now with the truck spread out, I don't know if I want to say that. I don't know how to say it. Do you want to say it? I'm in trouble already for the season.
No, you're on your own.
Okay, no, we're just going to move on because I'm already in trouble for the past 2 weeks about things I've said and what's come to be here. A great battle up front. This bad, but I mentioned that race last week in Kentucky. Let's look at some of the photos from Mr. Hedge real quick. Some of these amazing shots here. Kentucky, of course, one of those tracks that has that different iRacing gridding method where we start on pit road, sort of on that angle. And it was a great race last week. You saw Mark Kalin lead for a while. Jeff Evans was up there for a while in the battle, and some beautiful, beautiful shots here from Mr. Hedge. So just keep in mind that Mr. Hedge makes sim racing full of unforgettable moments. And at Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography, you can capture them all. From first wins to fresh liveries, even the crashes you'll never forget. Mr. Hedge turns virtual racing into memories worth sharing. They're clean, they're sharp, and they're made for sim racers. Visit mrhedge.co.uk to get the best moments in focus. And as you mentioned, Evan, of course, last week Richard Regan won again. A race that really at points was in question. Mark Kalin had a bunch of laps last week. There were some different leaders, but after the pit stops, Rich really pulled away with that different undercut strategy and was able to pull that out here and win in the Bluegrass State. Back on board here in this race. This is a lapped truck there on the outside of the RBM truck, and on through we go through the bus stop.
I was waiting, I'll admit, for a picture of the Colonel at Kentucky Speedway, but I'm sure it's in the Mr. Hedge folder somewhere. Always great to see those pictures, and a good way for me to be able to catch up on some of the sights that I missed from that race just a week ago. Battling continues all over the racetrack, through the S's, out of the outer loop, and on the front straightaway. Everywhere you look, something's going on. But I do want to say it includes the battle for the race lead. We have not really talked much about it this afternoon, but Richard Regan Jr. has been keeping Bradley Holly honest. James O'Brien also in third, has not fallen off of the back. So he's there in the number 3 spot, but I think this is the first time really since the jump where Regan has been pretty stable. Call it 3 or 4 truck lengths off of the bumper, and you have to wonder if you're Bradley Holly, are you starting to feel the pressure?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look at the numbers in the bottom of the screen. Green, red, green means that they're really just kind of trading those gaps back and forth. And again, it just makes me wonder if Rich is just trying to hang out and kind of using Brad as a I don't want to say a pace truck, but maybe a marker, a pace marker, to kind of keep himself in tune here. Both these drivers are really good at saving fuel and saving tires. And I think maybe Rich is just close enough to Brad, where maybe just down the straights, he's pulling just a smidgen of a draft and helping with that fuel saving here. But we'll see what happens after the pit stops when they come along. We're already about 20 minutes into this race here, Evan. And yeah, that's a beautiful line by Rich. I mean, I know we talk about Rich every week and how solid of a racer he is. But if you watch this onboard lap here, we can just ride on board for a second and kind of walk through the corners here. You're going to come down the front straight. You're going to use these cones on the left side of your screen to help, there's signs rather, to help you get turned here. And to turn 1, we call it the 90. And Evan mentioned earlier, you're going to come up here through this straight into the S's. This is possibly the most difficult part of this road course in a NASCAR truck. You have to really be careful with the throttle. You can't slam down on the throttle. You have to kind of pepper it. And you do have to get that close to the wall to get a good run. Come up the left side. Now your braking markers here will be on the right side. There'll be some number boards. You're going to start braking around to 300. Get it down for the inside of the bus stop. You can use all the curbs here on all 4 sides of the bus stop. Now some people call it the outer loop. Some of us call it the carousel. And this is where the track deviates. If you were to kind of keep going straight, almost to the left right there, that's the boot. We're not going there. We're up on this pavement, down to the back straights. And then, I don't know, I mean, these corners don't have names, right? This is just the penultimate and the final corner?
Yeah, I've got nothing that I've heard for the final 2 corners. And again, you can call them 10 and 11. You can call them 7 and 8. You can call them 6 and 7, whatever you want. That final corner there does have a little bit of banking to it. You want to wash the truck out all the way to the outside wall. And then again, carry the speed down the front straightaway, not getting coaxed into that downhill slope into turn number 1, where you do it all over again. Now, some drivers are going to be more aggressive on the runoffs than others. Single file, you really should not be going over the curbs and into the runoffs in most places on the racetrack. Obviously, if you're in a battle, that's a way to kind of widen the racetrack to carry a little bit of additional speed through the corner. I think the only place consistently you're using a runoff would be out of the outer loop if you're running single file.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. So watching it back, this is Zachary Burnt back here and had a big of a wiggle there. Back up towards the front here, we'll see a couple of trucks battling. Here's Zachary Burnt through the bus stop. And this is the challenge with using that bus stop on those curbs, Evan, is that it's a real fine line. It's like walking a tightrope of using those curbs appropriately. If you don't, that truck can get either loose or just not react, and it can be a really bad run for you. But up through the S's we go again here. This is Brandon Walter. He's trying to hold off Steve Loving right now.
Yeah, that's the battle ongoing as they race for number 19 position on the back. Both these trucks have been around each other for much of this race. Not a ton of separation between where they are now and where they started this race on the grid. And maybe the closer battle is a little bit further behind them. Doug Evans and Trace Paderni battling for 22nd and 23rd. Trace, one of the other trucks who did not get a time in qualifying, started from the rear based on a provisional. He's the second highest runner of those trucks, looking for more. Is the move going to come to the inside of the 79 this time? Looking, does not make the dive. Doug Evans holds for the moment, but you feel like Paderni, the move's coming soon. Now looking late to the inside in the final corner. Evans saw it coming at the last moment, and they'll drag race down the front straight.
Oh, buddy, that was close. That may be the closest thing we've seen. Well, maybe to contact that wasn't contact. We saw the one earlier with, the back end of James Morgan with Steve Loving. But as far as not making contact, that's about as close as you're going to get at the Glen or any racetrack maybe without making that contact. Here's Thomas Sink, by the way, coming out of the bus stop. He's got Matt Gagnon and the 14 behind him. And Matt with Outlap Motorsports here doing a great job. Gonna ride on board. Matt, the snow or the snow goggles, the ski goggles are back, Evan.
I think we talk about the lean, right? We joke that adds some extra horsepower. I think the old school bubble goggles, that's got to add at least 10 horsepower.
I hope so. He's got a little bit of lean going on. Look at the head there. He's always got the lean going. So there's got to be a lot of horsepower in that truck. Let's watch. Remember the camera's reversed and mirrored, so he'll turn right. See if the head turns left. Camera left here. Yeah, there it is. Oh, boy, that's a bit of a lean.
That was a late move, too. I don't know if he was really planning on going to the inside there, but the 48 truck kind of opened the door up for him at the last minute. I don't know if Sync braked too early and then found himself with just not enough speed going into the corner, but that was a bit of a weird one. Nonetheless, Gagnon was prepared, made the move to the inside. That'll be in exchange for the number 12 and 13 positions on the racetrack, and Matt Gagnon to back up into the spot in which he started in. So those two trucks have been following each other all night long. It's a spot picked up for Gagnon. He's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to get to the next closest driver. That actually may be one of the biggest interval gaps per position anywhere on the racetrack. This battle's about 5 seconds behind the next position on the racetrack. So some work to do for Gagnon if he wants to find a little bit more.
Yeah, and a great run up he's having here. I mean, Matt's having a pretty solid run. Here's Jeff Evans and Ted Lowenick. Teddy right now, by the way, in P10. So this is a battle for P9 on track, and Teddy clears and is good. By the way, those Miracle Flow trucks, Evan, you notice how they're a little brighter this week? That's on purpose. They said since Miracle Flow is built for the bold, they all went ahead and sort of ramped up the brightness on the truck. So it's, Evans, Holly, and Schwartz. You'll see those trucks throughout the night. They have ramped up the colors in those trucks. They thought since Miracle Flow was built for the bold, they could be as well. And you know what? Let's do this since we're right on the topic. Let's do our Miracle Flow team update. We'll start right here, I guess, with Jeff Evans. Go out of order a little bit. Jeff currently running in P10 right now. He's up. He's down 2 spots, pardon me, in this run tonight in that 51 truck. And Jeff seemed pretty optimistic about the run tonight. When I talked to him in pre-race, Evan just kind of seemed pretty cheerful and jolly. So we'll see what he can turn out here in this race. Next, I believe, Evan, you get to go to P1 for Bradley Holly.
Yeah, and the bold colors continue. The bright colors and the chrome numbers on all of those Miracle Flow trucks to Bradley Holly. It's been a quiet night, which seems funny to say for the guy that has led all 20 laps that have been completed thus far, but he started on pole position, was just a little bit under a full 10th of a second quicker than Richard Regan in the qualifying session, and he continues to lead this race. That is lap traffic up the road, so Holly's got some challenges, plus Regan and O'Brien, second and third, are not that far behind him, so it has not been a walk in the park, but so far so good for Bradley Holly as we are through the opening, call it 25 minutes of this race, and we look to find the next of the drivers. Are we looking for either Doug Evans or are we going to Nick Schwartz?
Well, it looks like we're going to Nicholas Schwartz. Bright yellow this week is the color for Nicholas Schwartz in the 171. Having a pretty solid run here overall. You see right now a little bit of quietness on the track. He's got Jacob Dunn right behind him, so he is trying his best to keep ahead of that battle. This is the battle for 15th and 16th on track, Evan. And boy, that bright yellow, that's like highlighter yellow on that truck right there.
It's about as bright as it gets for Doug Evans in the number 23 spot. And that would leave, last but not least, the Nick Schwartz machine, I think, is the only other driver who we have to cycle in, or Doug Evans should say, on this cycle. That'll be at the tail end of the running order, essentially, for the 41 machine. Started in 18th, 23rd on the track right now. So Doug has been going the wrong direction and obviously still has plenty of time to be able to try to make up some spots, but Doug is going to look to turn things around, has not had the progression he wants in this opening stint. Well, that's a look at your Miracle Flow team update. Miracle Flow is more than just hair care. It's built for the bold. Born in Rochester, New York in 2015, Miracle Flow was created out of vision and necessity to level up the flow and the lifestyle that comes with it. Made right here in the USA, our products are crafted for quality and performance you can feel. Whether you're lined up with the boys getting ready to go to war or stepping out looking sharp, Miracle Flow keeps you looking fresh and feeling unstoppable. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just real results that speak for themselves. Miracle Flow, because your flow isn't just style, it's a statement. Let's wind it back. Heard Andrew Sharp had a moment. Let's see what happened up top.
Comes through the bus stop. See, that truck was already wiggling out of the bus stop. Way wild. Luckily, he's got it slowed down there. Typically, Evan, you don't get to be wild out of the bus stop and not have something worse happen. And that was right there in the gagwell, 4 or 5 cars. So that was pretty good news for Andrew Sharp and everyone else, all things considered. When I saw that truck wiggle through the exit of the bus stop, I was really scared where that was going to end up.
Yeah, it's easy to, I know I've used the phrase no man's land a couple of times tonight, but there is a lot of kind of negatively cambered or banked runoff to the outer loop, where if you end up there, you're throwing away 5 to 10 seconds every single time, right? I mean, there's a wall there, there's a runoff, but if you end up to the left-hand side of this corner, below and beyond that white line, you got to get way out of the gas because that thing actually slopes towards the Armco barrier, and you could really be in trouble. So could have been a lot worse, I think, but I think unintentionally highlighted the great battle that we're watching in this part of the racetrack with all of these trucks as they are doing their best to chase down what we'll call the leader of this conglomerate, and the side-by-side continues on. Wide that time for the 26 machine, and that will yield for Robert Barney to continue to allow more drivers to get on by. Now Andrew Sharp, next man up on the bottom, making moves around Barney. So a couple of spots lost this lap. Andrew Sharp not going to get it easy, though, trying to fight back here in a 2x2 battle.
Yeah, great battle happening on right here. Going to come up to the lead. Richard Regan's finally made that pass. Looking aggressive through the bus stop. Bradley Holly's not willing to give it up here. They're now side by side out of the bus stop, up through the carousel, through the outer loop. Now, Holly, you would think, would have a bit of an advantage right here, but he backs up. He's going to let Rich have it. Rich finally decided it was go time, I guess, and went ahead and got on around. I wonder if Bradley Holly slipped somewhere. Let's watch this through the pass here. This is out of the S's, and I don't know. That looks like a pretty normal pass. Just got to run
unless there was an issue at the start of the S's that set that up. That seemed like just a line in wait moment that Richard Regan took advantage of. We said it a couple laps ago that I thought maybe Holly was finally a little bit vulnerable in that battle. And now the question is, Regan stayed in second and chased Holly down, stayed within a half a second pretty much the entire opening 24 laps of this race. Now what can Bradley Holly do as the truck in P2? Is Regan going to be able to pull away with the clean air and clean racetrack up front? Or are these trucks really as even on speed as they've looked? And will we see a battle that looks just like this now for the next 20?
Yeah, and say what, pace-wise, they really have been just about even lap by lap on the lap times here. Last time by, literally just a 1/10 of a second difference between the two trucks. So a pretty good run. Look at the bottom of your screen. I mean, look at it. They're just trading it back and forth, but it's really no big swings and gaps there, Evan. It's just little by little by little, what they're giving up and kind of gaining on one another. By the way, you mentioned the number lap 24. I want to put a pin in that. That's our first pit stop that seems to be on schedule. Matt Gagnon pitted lap 24, so all signs point to him at least being committed to a 2-stop race. We'll see here. Evan Williams down pit road as well now. A couple others, by the way, on pit road, just off screen. Kyle Dewey, Blaine Adams pitted pretty early in this race for damage, so they're off track still. But I believe Matt Gagnon and Evan Williams are our first two to pit that we think would be in a normal pit cycle.
And yeah, to your point, that is going to be well shy of the number needed to get to halfway, which we think is close to either 30, 31, or 32. It depends on what the time shakes out to. Again, the sim was estimated about 64 laps total at the start of the race. Now the number looking like a 62. And again, the pace will be slowed by an inevitable pit stop no matter what strategy you're on. As you see the leaders getting around lapped car, Nick Hunter, who stays up high and out of the way. So again, I think you got to be targeting at least 30 if you're going to be here on a one-stopper. And there's the ever so iconic perspective of Bradley Holly as he rides in the number 2 spot. The only unfortunate thing I see from that perspective is Richard Regan's truck is slowly getting a little bit smaller out of that front windshield.
Yeah, a little bit slower for Brad. By the way, if we can go back to that first camera shot at Brad for a second. I was assigned a task tonight by Bradley Holly, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, Evan. I was told we have to find the new Lego set in the background. So this is going to be a hard task, and I don't instantly see it, and I'm sure I'm going to hear about it later when I don't see it. So
we need like a before it, like the spot the difference.
Can we get last
games.
week's broadcast?
Yeah, we need a still from last week and a live shot. I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to cipher through, because there's got to be, what, 30 different models on those shelves at least?
Yep. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I know a couple that is not, but yeah, as far as spotting the new one, I'm not sure. That's a racing room, by the way. Look at that. I know we're having a great battle on the track with these guys. I don't want to ignore that, but I mean, Lego sets, the lighting, the pictures on the wall that really show off, you know, the race wins with the team. So that's a pretty awesome room. Pretty a cool 75 degrees in that room, by the way, according to that clock there on the side of the wall. So Brad's going to try and make the pass. Nope, backs out of it. But yeah, I don't know which Lego set is new. I know it's not the one in the top corner. That's all I can tell you is it's not that one. So I've knocked one of about 30 off the list for you.
Oh, and here's an interesting decision. Regan Jr. splinters off to pit lane after only 27 laps. So what we think is going to be 3 laps shy of the halfway point. Regan is in. He had just taken the lead. He led the last 3 laps. And then as Bradley Holly started to put their pressure back on him, the Toyota Genuine Parts TRD Pro is in, and he's got company. Reese Bogue, Robert Barney also diving to the pit lane. Are these trucks wholesale going to be this tight on being short to get to the halfway distance? We'll see how many more drivers respond. It was a clean entry for Regan. The decision on pit road, in and out, fuel and 4.
Yeah. 4 tires is the call, as is all the fuel here. It makes me think that everyone's kind of given up, I think, on the one stopper move, unless our lap estimates are just going to be way off here as far as how many laps are running. But I mean, when I did the math by hand tonight, it's about 60 laps. There you go. There's a full screenshot of the Lego room, if you will. I don't know which one is new, Evan. I don't know. It's not the Stormtrooper helmets. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like is that a space shuttle?
Yes, up in the top of the corner. Yeah.
Has that been there?
That's definitely been there. That's the one I recognize.
See,
yep.
I feel like I would have recognized the space shuttle, so now I'm just disappointed that I'm only noticing that one now.
So what I feel like we need, you know, as a kid, it was like the Highlights for Children magazine where like you circled all the things different on the front and back cover. Need to get our telestrator out and do that here. So pit stops are still going on. Andrew Sharp is now down pit road. Regan's been down. Reese Bogue has been down. Robert Barney. So the list is growing little by little. But of note, some drivers up front who've not pitted. It's basically your top 6. Holly, O'Brien, Baker, Kalen, Evans. Your top 6. So I'm curious how long they're going to stretch this out for. You see O'Brien's now just around Nick Hunter, the lapped truck there. But yeah, time-wise, though, if you figure 75 minutes, we're getting close to the halfway point here. So this is going to be a tight race at the end. And of course, the more laps you go right now, Evan, more confidence I think you have to push that truck on your second run as Holly stays out again.
Yeah, so I thought maybe we were going to be short across the board, but if Holly's able to make it, what is the split difference? James O'Brien comes in from what he had assumed as the number 3 position. Mark Kalen coming down pit road from 4th. Ted Lowendick's going to stay out. So Holly and company will make the magic number. Now, of course, if 33 is the number you can do on fuel, well, there's no issues to pit 27 laps into a stint if you're trying to get to lap number 60, because you can just do your longer run to the end. Somebody almost lost it. That was Dustin Bumgarner, who almost bended out of the S's.
Certainly did. That was a wild ride to see in the back of that camera shot there. And no surprise, those drivers who just pitted Evan with the new tires, they're going to set some fastest laps, and they'll need to make up the difference here. Watch Bumgarner, though, got up on that curbing, and boy, that thing wobbled probably 4 times, and somehow he held on to it. And really, more surprising, he did it while almost staying in the throttle.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. That time it worked out, though. Up the hill and in the gas, and somehow is able to hang on to it. Is slow truck on the inside. Stacy Hunter coming to pit road, just yielding to the right-hand side to get in. And there is the pit stop for your race leader, Bradley Holly. Steve Baker, P2 responds. Baker's down to the pit lane. And again, the updated ranges, look out, going to cost Holly some time there. Is Trace Paterni cycling directly in front of your leader? Does that hurt Holly at all? But the length estimates now suggesting a magic number of 60 laps total, so this would be right on the money at halfway. You know the call is going to be for 4 tires and fuel. The question is, where does he cycle back out in relation to Richard Regan Jr., the car who already came down and pitted? Well, Regan is already well clear. What a difference.
Yeah, I mean, he will be well clear. The difference will be that I don't see a way Regan does this without stopping again. I don't see how that's possible, right? Depending on lap 28, 20, into 27, and start of 28, I don't know how he makes this work, honestly. I mean, maybe he will, and I'll be stunned if he does. But basically, all the same team members came down together. All of Whataback Racing. You saw Evans, you saw Holly. Steve Baker was down there with him, part of Solpec, SPR down there together. So you could tell that team had a number in mind of about lap 30 where they wanted to stretch this to halfway through the race. Here we are. This is the difference now for first and second, Holly and Regan. The challenge for Bradley Holly, I think, is going to be if you want to save 30 laps, Evan, you can't be aggressive. You can't really be on the throttle, at blazing speed, record-setting paces. You have to be patient here and kind of do what you need to do.
Yeah, you're going to have to run your own race. You hear that analogy a lot when you talk about road course racing, where a lot of it is more so driver versus the track than the other competitors. And that's true even when you're making your strategy decision based on what the rest of the field is doing. But, whatever the formula is some sort of a split number or a fuel burn number that you're going to have to hit that feels like is going to allow you to win this race. Again, if Richard Regan Jr. can somehow go what will be an estimated 33 laps to the end of this race, I just don't see him making up 8.6 seconds. But again, the question is there going to need to be a splash? You take a look at the top side of your screen, that's Evan Williams going wide out of the outer loop and too wide. Spins the truck sideways. Fortunately, there was nobody immediately behind that truck, so nobody else collected in it. But I did warn, you get off of the kind of paved runoff of the outer loop, it's banked the wrong way. That truck gets loose and lost it there all on his own.
Yep. Wild ride. Luckily, no one behind him. So it's just a single car spin. Only thing that hurt there, probably a little bit of his pride and maybe the tires. Other than that, everything is okay there for the moment. Here's Richard Regan Jr. track all to himself, by the way. So he gets to ride around here. You see there's the trucks behind him. Hard to spot any trucks up ahead of him here, down through turn 1. So really it's on a Sunday drive. So this, in some ways, is best case scenario. If you need to save fuel for Richard Regan Jr., the fact you're not being pressured from the behind, the fact there's no one trying to pass you or that you need to get around, means you can cruise a little bit here. So we'll wait and see how this plays out. By the last time by, Bradley Holly about 0.2 of a second faster. And wow, there's your first 112 of the night. By the way, Evan, Ted Lowendick, a 112.794.
Yeah, to that point, been a little bit since we've checked in with Ted. We were following him through the field a lot early, and now with the best lap time of the afternoon, 2 laps after he came off pit lane, so tires are at their optimal temperature right now. He is a top 7 truck, so outrunning the P10 that he got at Lime Rock Park. So Ted Lowendick doing a good job. That is 21 positions gained. He is not done yet, by the way. Mark Kalin, Reese Bogue are within striking distance. Those are the next 2 trucks up the road. Yeah,
well, we're starting to see more updates on the top of your screen, by the way. We saw a couple of black flags on pit road, but here's James Morgan coming down to turn 7. Out of it, and he's got it loose. Oh no, the barrels, don't hit the barrels. And he did, in the back of that truck. The tree kind of blocked your view there, Evan, but the back right side of that truck smacked those barrels right there, and that truck likely done for the night. A very different week for James Morgan. Had a bit of an aggressive battle. Watch the view right here. The truck wiggles one way, trying to correct it. No, almost the passenger side door, actually, and the barrels, and he'll just try to get it on the pit road there.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot. Not the first driver we've seen that happen to, and that's in a position where if you get loose, you almost just have to commit to just going down pit road at that point, right? There's so little distance between you and the end of the pit wall there that It's almost better to just take the 40 seconds burned. As here comes a dive and a half for Ted Lowendick. I know Mark Kalin saw it coming, but for how drastic that was, it made it look like he caught him sleeping. That was from 3 truck lengths back and then some. Lowendick makes it stick in the bus stop, move him up now to a race best P6, as all Mark Kalin can do is watch that 13 drive away.
Yeah, Mark here in his new look room, by the way. I hope he gets it all put back together soon, Evan. We're missing the race posters on the left-hand side. Of course, now you get that. It's be a pretty comfortable leather couch in the back of the room there, and some different stuff up on the shelves. So Mark's been working on this race room. But yeah, that had to be I would think a scary moment, even if you know what's coming. Sometimes even though you know something's coming doesn't make it any less scary when it finally happens to you. Mark just got cruised right on by there by Ted Lowendick. So that put Teddy up to P6, puts Mark down into P7, and Mark now up through the S's here. And listening for a second. Based on hearing Mark's truck go up the hill here, no indication that Mark is trying to fuel save.
Yeah, he's keeping pace up. Holly's closed in by, call it maybe 0.6 of a second total since they cycled off of the pit lane, but nothing notable for Richard Regan Jr. up front. He is 8 laps removed from pit stops, and with about 25 estimated laps to go in the race, the magic number still sits at 33. It is worth noting that nobody on the opening run of the race went 33 laps. Again, that is not automatically a disqualifier, because if 33 is your number, you can just do the longer run in the second half, as Stacey Hunter with a solo spin coming off of the bus stop, going to cost some spots for the 71 machine. So it is not, raise the alarm bells for Richard Regan, but it is certainly interesting to note that he is going to have to do something to get to the end of the race that almost nobody else on this lead lap is expecting to need to do.
Yeah, and here's the battle. By the way, this is the next one for Ted Lowendick. This is P5 on the board. This is Reese Bogue. Now, these guys are slightly off in our pit strategies. Lowendick pitted on lap 31. I think maybe one of the last drivers to pit. And Reese Bogue on lap 28. So a little bit off in the strategy here. And I think Teddy just has the confidence in that fuel save to be more aggressive. Coming down here through the back straight, he won't pass here. My guess is he tries to make the move, I would think, through the carousel here. Let's see what happens. He can come out of the bus stop pretty calmly. And looks to kind of maybe setting up some. Reese Bogue's kind of drifting wide. And looks like Teddy's just kind of being patient here. But again, I think the difference, Bogue way wide up there. And now Ted will get to go side by side into turn 6 here. But I think for these Whataback teammates, Evan, who pitted on lap 30 and lap 31, I just think that lack of concern about fuel save is just making them a little bit more aggressive, a little bit maybe better in the second run so far, and Lowendick does make the pass. So from P28 to P5, that puts Teddy up 23 spots on the day.
And that may be the last spot that he will get in this race. It is 10 more seconds up the road to get to Steve Baker. You would have to average about 4.5 of a second quicker every single lap over the next 30 minutes if he is going to catch him. I am not saying that is impossible, but it is just likely improbable. Now, again, there may still be some drama to be had if some trucks can't go the distance on fuel. We've discussed Regan has a question mark next to him. So does Reese Bogue. So does Robert Barney, Matt Sherford, Matt Gagnon, even more so. Those last 2 names were the first drivers to come in and pit. But irregardless of all that, what a drive that Ted Lowendick has had after not taking a time into qualifying to drive his way to the top 5.
Sorry, that Reese Bogue got super wiggled there off of the that pavement up there. And there's your numbers on the bottom right of your screen. No one even close to what Ted is. I mean, Trace is up plus 11. Nick Hunter's up 9. Doug Rice up 7. Jacob Dunn's up 5. But, I mean, Ted just walked away. I suspect he's got one more spot left in him, by the way, assuming Richard Regan cannot make the fuel run here. So that's probably the last spot. I agree with you that Teddy could get here, short of some carnage or calamity or bad luck. For their driver and Reese Bogue, look how hard he is pushing, Evan. I don't know if he's trying to prove a point and get back to Lowendick or what's happening here, but that truck has wiggled probably 2 or 3 times in this lap here, and he's pushing.
No reason not to. I mean, I think they've, by this point, right, 38 laps into this race, have likely found the limit on where they want to be aggression-wise. You know, it's not just as simple as if you want the truck to go faster, is to drive it more aggressively. Often when drivers are hanging it out sideways and out of control, that it's quite the opposite. They're actually hurting the race pace in that truck. But I think these drivers at this point, again, all the practice over the course of the last week, practice in this session, qualifying, and now almost 40 race laps, they pretty much found their comfortable pace. Some people more comfortable driving on the edge than others, as he almost got the fence that time off the corner. Let's see what happened with Walter. Sideways and an overcorrect into the safer barrier and nearly took a truck right behind him out.
That was Paderni, I'm pretty sure, and that had to have been a wild look from Paderni here. And then the bottom live of your screen, you see, I think that's still Reese Bogue, who was struggling on the track. So what I find odd about this, by the way, Evan, is that the track is getting cooler. I think we're down to like 113 track temp. That sounds pretty hot, and it is. We're 114. That's still about 4 to 5 degrees cooler than where we started. And so typically as a track cools off, there's more grip in the track, and you have less issues with the wiggles and the looseness of the truck. But these guys, they could just pushing that much harder and causing those problems for themselves.
Every time we look back at one of those moments where somebody almost lost the truck or did lose the truck, I continue to be amazed that these have almost exclusively been single truck accidents or moments, right? I mean, so many close calls. All of these moments, lead lap trucks, lap down trucks, I mean, these could all be coming from drivers who are directly in front of a leader, right? Directly in front of the race leader. That's why the race is never done, because you've got to get all the way through it. But certainly there's been a lot of hold your breath moments I think we've gotten pretty lucky with.
Yeah, there really has been those moments. By the way, I want to take a second here and kind of show you a fun thing here about Watkins Glen. We know it as this course here with and without the boot. But Evan, this back in the 50s when Watkins opens a street course, this is the original track map for Watkins Glen. You see, it's obviously very different than what we know it to be today. It wasn't until 1956 it became more of the road course we know it as. But there's some wild corners in this. Look at that bottom left of your map there at Stone Bridge. That's a pretty steep hairpin right there to go through. That had to have been a wild ride in the stock cars of that day.
That is, of all the track maps that I've seen, that is. What's the corner count on this original layout?
Oh boy. Well, if you ask iRacing, it's going to be different. No, yeah, I don't know. Don't know the original. It's got to be, I would think, 20.
That'd
Some
be
pretty obvious named corners.
Yep.
That big bend up there, that's pretty obvious. I'm guessing Station Road was actually on Station Road,
Yeah, New York 329, probably just public streets, right? Given a lot of Le Mans energy.
Right. Map. So the two-stop cycles have begun here. And I think Matt Gagnon's not the only one who pitted there. I think Andrew Sharp pitted on lap 40 as well. So this is going to become a race you and I haven't called in a while, where it's going to be who made the right call and strategy. It's been a long time since you and I done one of these with this kind of storyline. But who made the right call? Who can make it on fuel? Do the tires matter more? Lots of questions to still be answered in the next 23 minutes.
And with the decision to pit, we know that Sharp, we know that Gagnon, they are going to be good no matter what now to go to the end of the race out of fuel. They're going to have better tires. They drop back to 15th and 18th spot on the racetrack. How many positions are they going to be able to make up, though, over the course of the rest of this race to then try to make up for, of course, the added time by needing to make an extra pit stop? Also, don't look now, but you see the scoring pylon, and the gap between your top two trucks is under 3 seconds. I know we said that Regan was keeping pace. I can't help but to think that he's saving somewhere, though, and I can't tell you where on the track he's saving because his intervals and splits look pretty normal, so unless he just had a really bad lap and threw it all away in bulk, which I don't think is what has happened here, Richard Regan Jr., in my opinion, is not a 5-second slower over the course of a 20-lap run truck compared to Bradley Holly, right? Those trucks were so even on the first stint, but that gap has closed by more than 5 seconds. So that would tell me some sort of saving is happening there with that fuel conversation.
Yeah, let's take a look here. I mean, last time by Bradley Holly about 0.4 of a second faster than Richard Regan Jr. So it is slowly closing is that gap. There's those SimGamingExpo green colored numbers on the bottom of your screen. And as you said, just kind of picking it off little by little, right? 0.4 of a second, 0.6 of a second, less than 1/10 of a second. So he's getting there. And I do also wonder, as time goes on and as Richard is going to start to pass more and more lap trucks, what impact is that going to play, right? And who lets him by, who does what here? Also a question right now, that car behind Richard Regan, that is Matt Gagnon. That is a teammate over at Regenboog Motorsports. Now, Matt would love to get back on the lead lap here. Matt likely has a faster pace. Newer tires, he just pitted. Last time by, Matt was also half a second faster than Rich. But the moment that Matt tries to make the pass here, he's going to affect the lap times of our leader.
And we'll see how long that interference is going to take, as James Morgan's truck is down on pit road and smoking heavily. So Morgan's night will come to an end in smoke on the pit lane. Some sort of an engine issue for that machine is Bradley Holly still trying to get up to Richard Regan. He's got the buffer of Matt Gagnon there. But again, will Gagnon actually act as a buffer, or the pace of the 14 machine faster than Regan? If you're Richard Regan, do you just kind of rip the Band-Aid off? Do you just want to yield and let that truck behind you go by? Or do you hope that as the leader, he's going to be very selective with what move he wants to put on you? I think in either scenario, probably going to cost the leader time, to your point.
Yeah, I would think so too. By the way, apparently things have gotten serious in the Matt Gagnon house because of the goggles are up, Evan. He is locked in and ready to go. Nicholas Schwartz, by the way, here, black flag. So we'll see. That may be for incident points. Those are likely to start keeping their head up here. And there's the lean again. But these guys here are still fighting pretty hard. And I'm impressed by the patience of Matt Gagnon, because I think he can make the pass, but I think he doesn't want to hurt his team boss.
It is a fair quandary that these drivers are dealing with. Is, again, the truck you're on board with lapped to machine between your race leader Richard Regan and your second place truck Bradley Holly. Well, we are inside of the final 20 minutes of this race here at Watkins Glen. We will take a quick opportunity to step aside. We will stay side by side so you don't miss a thing. Your race leaders Richard Regan Jr. trying to bring it home in the Miracle Flow 147.
This September, the heart of sim racing beats in Chicagoland. The SimGamingExpo takes over the Schaumburg Convention Center, September 5th through the 7th. Go wheel to wheel in our competition area. Test the latest gear, meet top brands, creators, and celebrate with fellow sim racing enthusiasts. Whether you're a seasoned sim racer or new to the sport, this is your chance to be part of history. To purchase tickets and see the full exhibitor lineup, visit SimGamingExpo.com.
Back here at Watkins Glen, you see now Matt Gagnon's getting closer and closer to Richard Regan. This again, not a pass for the lead. This is a pass of a lapped car wanting their lap back up through the S's. You'll not see the pass here. But I'll tell you, look back here, that gap is still closing behind. As Bradley Holly is about 2.3 seconds here. He's excited, I think, by the fact that Matt Gagnon might pass, but Gagnon's backed off here, and we'll keep things moving. We're about 17 and a half minutes to go here at this track and on this race here for the Miracle Flow race here at Watkins Glen. A pretty awesome race so far. Seen a couple of lead changes, lots of battles up and down the field. The intervals on the left side of your screen will show you where some of the battles are currently on the track, and lots going on. But look at this here. This is going to be back in the field. This is Thomas Sink and Andrew Sharp. They're trying to get around here through the field. This is 13th and 14th. And Sharp now is going to try to make the run here to the bottom of turn one. He'll be on the right side. Does he get there? He does, and clears Thomas Sink, and that's a pass for position. See on the right side of your screen, Evan Williams has also come down pit road for a second time. So that cycle of the 2-stop race has continued here as the day rolls on. Up ahead of these drivers, by the way, that's Dustin Bumgarner in the black truck. So lots going on as this time counts down. So I think in a lot of drivers' head, there's a clock ticking. Did I save enough fuel? Did I do enough? How much more do I need to lift to save the fuel? And all of those questions. And that's the thing that can keep a driver busy and almost too busy at times. And I know Ev and I have talked about this before, where as a driver, sometimes you want things to be simple. You want things just to be kind of calm in the car. And Evan, let's watch this first. This is going to be Nick Schwartz. This will be his black flag I saw a second ago here. And, oh, a little bit of bump. That's going to be for incident points. So that's going to put him down pit road for a drive-through. But, Evan, sometimes as a driver, we want things to be simple. We don't have to worry about all the math. We don't have to worry about fuel saving. We just want to go. And it's easier sometimes to do that as a driver than to try to worry about all the extracurricular stuff.
And there's a lot of nuance in the battle you're looking at up front. Nicholas Acosta, lapped truck, getting passed for position there by Matt Gagnon, who is continuing to just follow Richard Regan Jr. Again, very notably, faster truck is Gagnon, but as a lapped machine, is trying to not interfere with the leader. And is taking a couple of looks. Again, we kind of discussed, like, do you wait until you make him make a legitimate pass on you? We talked about the team dynamics in play, or do you just pull over and get it done with? Reagan has not been interfered with at all because the truck's obviously behind him, so this continues on. But at some point, Bradley Holly's then going to have to deal with it. And do you have a blocker in between? Do you get right to the bumper? Holly is within 2 seconds with 15 minutes left to go. If this pace stays up, Bradley Holly is going to catch Regan in a battle for P1.
So a random thought that just hit my head. I'm a little surprised these two haven't reversed this role right here. If I was Richard Regan and I thought fuel saving was a problem, even if he thinks he can make it, why not put the newer truck at Matt Gagnon ahead of you and let him act as your draft? Why not let him help you save a little bit of fuel and give you some confidence for the end of the race? So that tells me one of two things. Either Regan has given up and just said, hey, I can't make it, or he's more confident in his fuel saving than I am in his fuel saving. But I was thinking in my head a second ago, Evan, why not put your teammate ahead of you? Let him get the lap back, let him get up on the lead lap where he wants to be, and let him kind of drag you around the course.
Yeah, and the question is, there are opportunities, front stretch, back stretch, where the draft's going to help you a little bit, but is that going to be too much of a downside then on some of the slower speed corners where you don't want that truck in front of you giving you some dirty air? I don't think it's bad on the surface as it is in real life, those dirty air effects, but I think it took a step towards being more of a nuisance here on the sim, which is a step towards, of course, a one-to-one replica of what that's like in real world when we had the latest build a couple of weeks ago. But I think for Regan, he just wishes that 14 was not there. Just get rid of it altogether. It's kind of the spoils of the riches, right? Like, would you rather not have a truck that is sympathetic to your goals and right, wants to obviously see you succeed? But I think in the end, for Richard Regan Jr. here, the better answer for him would just be if that truck was not there.
Well, the better answer for Bradley Holly might be that he wishes that 14 truck wasn't there, because right now Holly is closing quick. This gap is now down to less than a second. Heck, it's down to half a second last time by at the start-finish line. But now the problem Holly has is he has to pass 2 trucks to get this lead here. So last time by, Holly, 14.612 was faster than the leader. And you see up ahead, he sees 2 trucks. First, he's Outlap Motorsports. The Matt Gagnon truck is going to try to, well, that was going to try to outbreak him in the bus stop here. So he's got to pass 2 trucks here in the next 12 and a half minutes.
And he has time, but he does not have an abundance of time. Again, translate that time that you see on the top left of your screen to laps. It is estimated to be 10 laps to go this time around. There is more lap traffic in play now as the leaders have caught up to Mike Toomer Jr. 2 laps down in the number 26 spot. The Sleepwen truck will yield to the inside. He's going to allow that 3-truck trio to drive by up top. And now if you're Bradley Holly, You got to start picking at how you are first going to get around the lap truck. It's a late dive to the inside. Holly down on the bottom. They touch there. Contact with Matt Gagnon. And wasting no time, Bradley Holly forces his way past the lap truck.
Well, Ashton answered if you're Bradley Holly, because that's exactly what happened. You said, when does he make the move, or how does he make the move? And he said, hey, watch this. And so he's on by, and there's, of course, again, it's Matt Gagnon, very stoic, very calm, very chill look on the face of Matt Gagnon. That's that truck now in the back, the lap truck here. Brad now gets to have one target in his focus, which is catching and passing the leader, and Richard Regan Jr. up through the carousel. They're going to come here, and now we'll look back on through the field in a moment. This is Reese Bogue, by the way. He's in a battle right now with Mark Kim. We saw these guys battling earlier, by the way. This is not a new battle. This is P6 and P7 on the screen here. And this was pretty tight last time. Reese was kind of overdriving and Mark was making passes and then handing the spots back. And so these guys just kind of, you know, quote unquote, reigniting an old battle.
And it is that point in the race where it's go time. The home stretch, the strategy beds have been made. Who's going to be able to go the distance? Who's got a couple of passes left in them before this night is said and done? Kalen chasing down Bogue. The battle for sixth continues on. We mentioned Ted Lowendick got up to P5. He probably would not get anything else. That continues to look true. He's about 15 seconds up the road of this battle and still 7 seconds back from Steve Baker in fourth. So if Lowendick could maintain, he's pretty comfortable in his spot. And I was wondering, with Bradley Holly through to second, did we see Matt Gagnon jump back into the conversation as a faster truck? But Gagnon has fallen back now, passed by Stacy Hunter. So it'll be a mano-a-mano, straight-up fight in the battle for the win.
Yeah, credit to Matt Gagnon right there. He helped a teammate, but he knew when it was time to move out of the way. He knew when it was time to say, hey, guys, this is now a battle for the lead. Like, you know, I don't want to involve myself in it. I don't want to be the guy who makes something happen by accident. So he backed up a little bit here. Obviously, I believe he would have had the pace, but is now headed away from that battle here. So now down the front straight, they're going to come here. Probably about, I'd say 7 more laps to go estimated here on the lap count. And I just have to think Brad is setting it up here, because right now, I think you get one, maybe you get 2 shots at this, Evan, to make a pass and make it stick here. With how fast these laps are, with how few passing opportunities there are on the track, you get 1, maybe 2 chances to break hard in here and try and make something stick.
And if you go to make a move and it doesn't stick, right? If there's a mistake, how late does that come, and do you have enough laps left to bounce back from it? Let's jump back to the battle between Kalen and Bogue for P6 and 7. There's the big moment out of the outer loop that allowed Mark Kalen to get on through. Reese Bogue drops back to the number 7 spot. They're still within a couple of truck lengths. We'll see if that battle picks back up, but Mark Kalen is hoping that's the end of it as he drives away in the number 6 position. Look at that, 7 laps to go this time by. Bradley Holly is there. So where do you strategize that this 2.45 mile racetrack gives you the best chance to go for the race win? He's made some late dives into 1. That's a gutsy decision. Also, we've seen some drivers make moves into the bus stop, which I think is the riskiest of the heavy braking zones.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the riskier of the 2 spots compared to right here in turn 1. See both drivers really up against the curbing. They're both going to track out here. No one of these 2 drivers is going to try to make any kind of move in the S's, so Brad will just try to keep pace right here. The best you could hope for in the S's is that you get a better run out of the S's somehow, and you're able to kind of dig in here down this back straight into the bus stop. Does not appear to be the case. Regan keeping a nice solid gap. We'll start to break right about here for the bus stop. Brad closes that gap a little bit here. And does he try to make a pass in the carousel? I don't think so. I think he'll wait for the next turn 1 chance. Maybe not. He's up there. He's almost on the bumper. And nothing happens.
And he's going to go wide. I mean, you can tell he's doing everything he can to carry as much speed as possible. They'll head back down into the next set of corners. He stays in line behind. So again, no challenge for position as they head to the final corner. 6 laps to go this time by. Bradley Holly, who led the opening 27 laps of this race, chasing down Richard Regan Jr., who just led his own 27th straight lap. A look to the inside. No real dive. Now it's late. There's a lockup. Richard Regan Jr. too deep into turn number 1. Bradley Holly pounces and goes to the race lead.
Well, I think Rich has one chance here, maybe next time by, to make this happen. We'll see what happens. So now you look at the webcam there of Richard Regan Jr. Watch how he's working the wheel up
shaking
through
his head.
The road
Frustrated
course.
with
Yeah,
himself.
frustrated. Yep, absolutely. Knows he just threw it away, possibly. Down through the bus stop here. And he's going to drive more aggressive than probably he has all night, Evan.
And it was almost a comical peek to the inside from Bradley Holly, right? I mean, he was 3 truck lengths back, but if you're Richard Regan, you had to take note of it because Brad had been making some big dives like that for some of these other positions. And I don't know if that played in to Richard Regan overdriving turn number 1 or what, but that right front locked up really late. And credit to Bradley Holly, he was ready. Is this the counter strike? Looking to the bottom, leaning on the right rear quarter panel as Richard Regan Jr. wants to get back to the lead. 5 laps to go at Watkins Glen. He'll look to the inside. No dive bomb this time.
Yeah, a little surprised, honestly, to see that Rich didn't try to dig it in there. But away they pull. They're going to come up to the S's. They'll have Thomas Sink up ahead. And if you're Bradley Holly, you're hoping Sink is out of the way. Here's the pass again. As you said, a little bit of juke move. And then really, I think Rich maybe just overshot the corner a little bit. And then Brad just took advantage and right on through the pass. He went. Thomas Sink does get around, or does let them around, pardon me, through the bus stop here. And you have to think Richard Regan knows the time is ticking away. The aggression is going to pick up here. Neither of these drivers are the type to do anything dirty, quote unquote, or aggressive. No one's going to wreck one another for the win here. They might lean on one another, though, Evan. That might still be coming.
We've seen that a few times. Drivers lean in, rubbing a little bit. We saw Holly use the bumper a little bit to get around Matt Gagnon to set himself up for what may have been the eventual pass for the race win. Robert Barney down pit road. That truck does not have the fuel needed to get to the end of this race, and he pitted 28 laps ago. Richard Regan pitted 29 ago. So as some of those other early pit stop trucks dive in, what happens for the lead? Takes a shot to the bumper that time, and look out. A car's going to blend out of pit lane right into the center of the battle. That is going to hurt Richard Regan's entry to the S's. Oh, he just lost a ton of time because of that truck blending back out.
You can start to see the frustration kicking in. You can see the chatter. Oh, there's
it's
a couple
all
of the
falling
wall.
apart.
Oh, no.
And that is Richard Regan now. Big damage on the tire.
Broken. It's broken.
And he is done. It all started to fall apart on the exit of turn number 1. The lapped truck pulled out on a critical right-hand apex into the S's. And then I don't know if there was a technology issue after that point, but he had certainly already lost it before that point came in the center of the S's.
Yeah, I think based on the way that that VR headset was already off his face, Evan, it makes me feel like there may have been some kind of technology or software issue with the VR, because I mean that was pretty quickly to have that headset off. He'd kind of given up and already kind of towed the truck back. So, boy, those are the moments. They're heartbreaking, right? And it I guess the best way to equate it, we don't have a lot of the car failures that you have in real life. You don't have the random, the random tire pops or the random engine blows or different things you have in real life, the computer issues. But in Sim, we have the VR issues, we have the monitor problems, we have the pedal problems. And it feels like that just came around to bite Richard Regan in this moment.
And what a effect this may have on the Drivers' Championship. Of course, we talk about drops and how that factors into things, but in a season where Richards, he's been so good, he kind of already had to burn it earlier. You're looking at where's this truck falling down to in the running order type of result for Richard. Right now scored an 18th position. This could maybe not flip this season championship on its head, but it could certainly make it more interesting. Again, watch the truck out of pit lane and then watch the leader, Holly. You need to be on the curbs right there to make the S's, and because the lap truck was there, he just started in no man's land and never got back on track.
And somewhere right around here, I'm not sure if it's going to be after the first wall hit, but that VR has some problems. That headset has problems. Or, I mean, that truck was probably also broken after that wall hit right there. And I don't know who that was that got up under him. That was a lucky pass right there for that orange. That might have been Matt Gagnon in that that lap sport here. So, boy, oh boy. Well, now the pit stops are continuing. So, by the way, I want to point out, a heartbreak for Richard Regan. But Regan Bogue, who pitted on the same lap, or Reese Bogue, pardon me, who pitted on the same lap as Richard Regan, had to pit already for gas. James O'Brien's down pit road, so I don't want to say for sure, Evan, but it feels like even if Richard had finished the race, he might have had to pit again for fuel. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was all falling apart for him late. If it was the fuel, if it was the poor entry to the bus stop, and then I think eventually get into the wall if there was a hardware issue or not. That first hit to the wall out of the S's certainly broke the toe link on the front of that truck. That left front was no longer pointed the right direction. And again, we had seen drivers who had pitted a lap later than Regan have to come down to pit. The pit service is completed this time through for James O'Brien, who will cycle back out into the number 4 spot. Those were the last drivers with question marks, and the white flag is now in the air. One more time around for Bradley Holly.
Can confirm, by the way, real quick, just to finish up on the story, Richard Regan, computer locked up. So his webcam is tied to a separate computer. That's how we get the Zoom feed from Richard. That computer's fine, but his racing PC locked up. So a full PC failure for Richard Regan Jr.
So he'll fall down to what'll probably be a finish outside of the top 20 in a stunning late race twist that may just change the complexion of this championship that will have only 3 races left to go after tonight. And up front, what a turnaround all of a sudden for Bradley Holly. Was the man to beat after starting this race on pole position, led the opening 27 laps consecutively until Richard Regan took over at the pit cycle, but he put the pressure on late, drove his way back to the front, and a guy who came into tonight as a 3rd place truck in the championship may just reignite his hopes of being a championship contender. Off of the final corner, Bradley Holly, first win of the season from Watkins Glen.
Kind of kept waiting for that moment of jubilee from Brad. I think we saw maybe a small fist bump.
All business right there.
Yeah, it is.
And he knows he's still got work to do. This win is a big step in the right direction, but it doesn't get him to the top step on the championship. I think that's a driver that's determined to keep this up for 3 more weeks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Still a couple of drivers coming across the start-finish line here. So we'll wrap up this race by watching a couple. There's Barney the Flagman vigorously waving that checkered flag. You'll see a few more trucks coming around here. And that might be the last of the herd right there.
Barney the Flagman's going to make sure they all get their due across the start-finish line. Is this field twice as close of a margin of victory as what we saw at Lime Rock Park. That race won by Richard Regan by about 17 seconds. It's about a 9-second gap. Holly to Baker. Again, that's a bit deceptive, but not to be lost at all of this is the Steve Baker pickup with Regan crashing out of the race. He'll end up P2. Ted Lowendick, 28th to 3rd. I mean, so many good storylines in this field, and a well-deserved celebration coming up right now for the driver of the 184 Ford.
Yeah, while they might represent Solpec or Miracle Flow, all these drivers connected via Whataback Racing in the top 3 is kind of a cool moment. So I was waiting to see. I think Brad's going to burn it down. I was waiting to see if Baker and Lowendick were going to join him. Possibly not here. But yeah, Brad's going to burn it down, and this will be your winning moment.
It's a well-deserved celebration as Bradley Holly finally nets his first race win on season number 2 of the SimGamingExpo Truck Series, and will become the 4th different race winner over the course of 7 races this season. Let's take a look at tonight's full race results. Again, Bradley Holly takes the first win of the year for his Whataback Racing machine, ahead of Steve Baker, who picks up second. Ted Lowendick, the biggest mover, 25 spots gained, and what a night for Whataback in the team points with a first and a third. Riga DeBogue Motorsports, the team to chase in that conversation. Get James O'Brien in the number 4 spot ahead of Mark Kalin in P5, and then Jeff Evans, Reese Bogue, Andrew Sharp, Thomas Sink, and Matt Gagnon, your top 10.
All the trucks from here on out will be a lap or more down. That's going to include Matt Scherf back in P11, Nicholas Acosta back in P12, and then Jacob Dunn. And then Steve Loving and Trace Perderny running your top 15. Colton Lane, Doug Evans, the last 2 car, 1 lap down. Then you get 2 or more laps down from your Evan, Robert Barney, Stacey Hunter, and Doug Rice running out your top 20.
Continuing on through with drivers 3 laps down. Richard Regan Jr., 21st position is the result in the end. What a shocking twist to the driver who was in the conversation for the race win not that long ago. And outside of Daytona, when he finished 31st and very publicly knew that that was going to be his drop week, finished first or second in every other race, this is going to count. This will not be dropped, and this will have a big effect on the championship. Nicholas Hunter's 22nd, with Zachary Byrne, Mike Toomer Jr., Nick Shorts through your top 25, Dustin Baumgartner, Evan Williams, Brandon Walter, James Morgan, and Brian Tope, your top 30.
And moving up the last couple cars here, Kyle Dewey's back in 31st, Doyle Lawrence 32nd, and then Brett Adams and Blaine Adams round out a 34 truck field.
It's a look top to bottom at your full race results as we head into the Riga DeBogue Motorsports post-race show. Speed is just the starting point. Success is built through discipline, focus, and development. At Riga DeBogue Motorsports, our iRacing coaching is built to develop winners. Through one-on-one training, we focus on the fundamentals that turn fast drivers into champions. Smart racecraft, disciplined decision-making, and pressure-proof performance. This isn't about chasing quick results. It's about building the foundation for lasting success. Riga DeBogue Motorsports, developed for wins, built for championships. Well, let's start with the top step of the podium. Bradley Holly is a first-time race winner this season in the SimGamingExpo Truck Series. We are standing by with the driver of the 184 now, and Bradley, congratulations on this one. You start on a pole, you lead the most laps, you win it in the end, but that does not tell the full story. Tell us about that battle between you and Richard.
Whoops.
He left for a second. I don't think he heard your question. You're going to phrase it again.
You
I
got us now?
apologize. Yes, I apologize.
No worries. I was going to say the stat line looks good for you, right? Pole position, most laps led, the race win, but that's a bit deceptive. It doesn't tell the full story about the battle that you and Richard had.
No. From the start, I was saving fuel. I was probably going 70% of what my actual pace was in race to make the one-stop work. Just with how long pit road is, it was probably a 45 to 50 second delta, and it just we weren't going to make the time up if anybody tried it. So the whole Waterback team did a phenomenal job today and on saving and getting good results.
Obviously, just before the pit cycle, Richard gets ahead of you. He dives off after 27 laps. We were kind of trying to track the ETA on lap count. It started at 63, and then we kind of figured that 60 was going to be the magic number. When he pitted that early, 3 laps earlier than you did, was that an indication that you knew that he was going to be off-cycled, already knowing, how much you were having to save to make your number work?
Yeah, I mean, when he pitted on lap 27, we all were pretty confident that he was not going to make it to the end of the race, because he would have had to have saved approximately 6 laps and really backed off the pace. I mean, he backed it off quite a bit compared to what I was doing when I was saving, and I still caught him, and I guess right when I got by him is when he ran out of gas.
So you get this race win. We already knew that Richard had his drop basically locked up with how Daytona ended for him. A shock late. He ends up, 21st in the end. It's going to make a big change in the points. You might be in this thing headed into the final 3 weeks. What's the mindset?
I mean, I didn't have a great finish at Daytona either. I think I got a 17th. So, it hopefully does tighten the points up and everything. Just glad to finally get a win. practice makes perfect sometimes, and it was worth it this time.
Derrick was unable to identify it on our search game,
Whoa,
so
wow. Wow. I just got thrown on the bus.
I'll give you the
Did
chance
someone
now to
get
let
the
us
plate
know.
on that bus that just went by? What the hell? What happened?
What's new in the background? Tell us
Hold
about
on.
it.
So hold on. We have guesses. We have guesses.
All right.
I have guesses. So first off, Dustin Ollis down in the truck thinks it's the Boba Fett ship thingy. Those are Dustin's words,
Quote.
not mine.
Yep.
Quote. So Brad's shaking his head no. I'm not totally sure, and I'm kind of embarrassed I don't know the answer to this. I'm going for the tall figurine just to camera left of the rocket ship.
That's correct.
Aha!
The K2 SO from what's Rogue One and Andor. That's what that one is.
For the record, to throw him under the bus, Evan thought it was the rocket ship, and I was like, no, that's been there a while.
I've missed too many weeks to have a accurate count of what is where and when. Well, if you want to add it to your collection, it's I just lost the number because I was looking at it on the Lego site. 75434, folks. If you want one for yourself, Bradley, we'll let you get out of here and celebrate. Before we do, anybody you want to say hi to?
I want to thank everybody at Waterback. We all really focused this week on trying to figure out what a strategy was, and everybody did a phenomenal job. And I want to thank you guys for broadcasting this week in and week out. Y'all's broadcasts are always phenomenal.
I'll tell you what, we appreciate you guys putting on a show. It makes things fun for us up top. Again, congratulations. Well-deserved and long overdue race win number 1 for you on this season. Hopefully these next 3 weeks are fun. Best of luck. We'll catch you at Richmond.
Thank you very much.
It's your race winner tonight at Watkins Glen. The Miracle Flow 147 goes to Bradley Hawley. And I'll hand things back off to you, Derrick. No bus included to talk with the rest of our top 3.
Yeah, no. I got it. Derrick 1, Evan 0. By the way, I just want to point that out. Let's bring in Steve Baker, who finished P2 in the night, and probably more importantly, is going to end up probably making up lots of points in the championship. Steve, a P2 feels good. I'm guessing knowing you made up a bunch of points on Richard feels even better.
It would feel good if I knew I wasn't going to miss a race later in the year, but
okay.
Yeah, it was good.
Well.
It was good to have a good race.
What race are you missing?
Yeah, I won't be here for Milwaukee, unfortunately.
For the Milwaukee Mile. All right. Well, a great run nonetheless at the Glen. It looked like a pretty exciting race out there. It looked like as time went on and the temps cooled, either drivers started pushing harder or the track got a little bit more squirrely as the night went on. Which one of those is true, or is both of those things true?
I mean, I think it was just all fuel managing. Was able to push a bit more the second stint, and the track did cool off a bit, so times kind of picked up a little.
When we look ahead next week to another short track on the schedule, Richmond, what is your outlook? What's your prediction for next week?
Yeah, looking forward to another short track, so hopefully we can continue the string of runs and have another good one there.
All right, Steve. Well, listen, congrats on the P2. An amazing run there in the Solpec truck. Anyone you want to say hello to or give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to just Solpec Precision Racing. All my teammates and guys I work with from Waterback and Solpec. And you guys for putting on the show, and everybody who runs the league.
By the way, I think my favorite pre-rush quote tonight, hey, Mark Kalin, you're not the only guy who won 6 hours of Glen this year.
Yeah.
All right,
well,
Steve.
I was going to say, we needed quite a bit more to catch Brad, so congrats to him on the win.
Very good. Well, listen, congrats on the run tonight. Pleasure talking to you, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, see you.
All right, that is Steve Baker. Now, the interview that maybe I'm most excited for from a statistical nerd kind of standpoint. The driver up 25 spots on the night. Teddy Lowedick, that gummy cluster was a moving.
Sure was, boys. That was fun. I've learned my lesson to not get suspended.
I mean, we had a pleasure having you in the booth last week, so there was a positive suspension. But I think the question has to be what would have been if not for the 20th starting spot, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching. I think I set the fastest lap coming out of the pits there, so that was a goal. I was like, I might not win, but at least I can do that. And then I was just watching the lap times and just seeing if we were staying where we were. At one point, I was 24 seconds, I think, back, and it looks like we finished 17. So we were gaining. But yeah, don't spot the leaders 28 positions. Try to come from the back.
So listen, I'm picking up on a trend here. We interviewed Brad. He had the sniffles and the cough. We're talking to Ted Lowendick, and he's got the little bit of the raspy voice and the sore throat going on. I'm thinking Evan and I are going to avoid the Whataback Racing paddock at the end of the night. Evan, I think we might want to stay away from there.
Yeah, it's fair.
All I'm going to suggest is if you're thinking about having kids, or if you have kids who understand my pain, once they go to daycare, they bring back whatever daycare has, and your immune system gets a boost from it, but you have to suffer for a little bit. So
there you go. Well, great run tonight. The road course, not a surprise from one of our road course greats, but now we look ahead to a short track, a very different style of racing next week. What's the goal for Ted Lowendick for next week at Richmond?
not cause any cautions. That's the goal.
Fair. That seems pretty simple.
Yeah. Let's hope.
All right.
I thought it was pretty simple before, and apparently I can get suspended for it. So.
Apparently you can.
Ugh.
Well, we'll let you out of here in a second. Anyone you want to say hello to or say thank you to?
Oh yeah, my mom and dad are out there watching, so thanks for watching. Actually, shout out to my dad. He helped me fix a cabinet this past weekend. It looks amazing. So that's fun. And you guys are putting on a good broadcast. Solpec for these amazing racing wheels that I'm using, and everybody at Whataback and Miracle Flow, and everybody in the league for having fun. You know, the racing starting in the back. You've got the skill difference, and everybody was really clean there. Couple squiggly moments, but other than that, it was pretty good, clean fun, and can't wait till next week.
All right, it was a pleasure talking to you, and we hope you have a good night.
As always, guys, have a good one.
All right. Well, Evan, I think he's going to wander off, and I think we need to get him like a cough drop sponsorship or something.
Yeah, he is going through it, but yeah, daycare will do that to you, bringing all the germs back. And is this the Ted Lowendick flu game? Coming for a
I missed that
P3
question.
finish,
That's a good-
25 spots gained, all while coughing up lungs. I mean, it's impressive stuff. And stuck around through the interview. That's a trooper. So we appreciate Ted sticking around to chat with us. A big thanks as well to Steve and Brad for giving us their post-race thoughts. And just like that, 7 weeks down, 3 races to go, and we head to the action track at Richmond Raceway next week for the Scherf Racing Design 140.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time next week to see what is different, who does what. And, of course, as the playoffs, or as the season rounds up, and be excited to see who's willing to make some moves, make up some points. I'm excited to see what the points look like for next week coming into Richmond.
There is some shakeup that is in between us and the start of the Richmond race. Just how close does the championship get? Well, you'll have to join us next Wednesday to find out. Until then, that is it for us here tonight. On behalf of our entire team at Green Flag TV and for your broadcast crew tonight, for our producer Dustin, Ollis, for Derrick Watson, and myself, Evan Posocco, want to say thanks for tuning in and hope that you join us next week, August 13th, for iRacing's virtual Richmond Raceway. That race and every race of the SimGamingExpo Truck Series can be found right here on Green Flag TV. Until then, good night from the Glen, and congratulations to Bradley Holly, first win of the season.